very difficult for the defense in this case to convince the jury that this was just an accident when the jury knows that this is the behavior he was engaging in at the time.
Pate says it paints a very dark picture for Justin Ross Harris, who prosecutors say sent texts to several girls, some even younger.
She's like, can I be honest? He's like, yes. She's like, I'm 15. He's like, oh, that's a nice for 15.
But Pate says it might be too much. The evidence doesn't show motive and could create a loophole.
Because the evidence is so damaging. Lawyers call it more prejudicial than probative. That connection to motive, I think, is pretty weak. I think they've got that maybe by a thread. So by allowing this evidence in, if they get a murder conviction, there may be a good argument on appeal.
Now, with the judge's decision today, Harris will stand trial for both the murder of his son and sexting charges, all at the same time. The judge did set a tentative date of February 22nd for that trial. Prosecutors have said they plan to seek the death penalty against Harris for the murder charge.
Dwane Tate, so what do you think about this case, about them letting the sexting in it? Do you think it's okay, fair to the defendant?
I don't think it's fair. I mean, here's the deal. Most juries decide cases by kind of how they have a feel for the case. This is going to make them hate this guy. And I don't think him texting and sexting with somebody else is a motive to kill your child. I mean, I just don't, unless he said, hey, well, let me kill this kid and then we'll get back to this or something. You know, I don't think it's a motive. And the jury is absolutely going to hate this guy, and it has nothing to do with whether or not he killed his kid. They're just going to hate him, and they're going to convict him for it. And I believe it's going to be an appeal. It's going to be an issue on appeal.
Alex Sanchez, so say you.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dwane. I think it's a cheap shot. Now, I'm not justifying this guy's behavior, texting or sexting to teenagers and, you know, sending photographs. You know, this guy's a degenerate if he did all that, or he's got some type of sex-related problems. He needs help. But I do think it's unfair to bring that in because, as Dwane said, the jury's absolutely going to hate him. The trial's not going to be whether or not he assaulted or caused his child to die. The trial's going to be, are you a disgusting person? That's what the case is going to devolve into. And the jury's going to say, yes, he is a disgusting person. And disgusting people, you know, end up killing people. And on top of that, they're seeking the death penalty. I actually believe this guy. As much of a degenerate as he is, he says he forgot that his kid was in the car. It sounds like he loved his kid because before this incident, he was at McDonald's. He was taking care of his kid. He was having a good time. You know what? Occasionally somebody makes that type of a mistake, and they forget to leave some kid in the car, and a horrible tragedy occurs. It doesn't mean you committed murder, and on top of that, they're looking for the death penalty? I mean, what is this with the overkill? So, I'm with Dwane on this one. I don't like the way this case is being handled, and I'm sure Joe's going to agree with me on this one.
Pictures to back up what you're saying. There are a lot of pictures where he's at McDonald's, where he's at amusement parks, which I'm sure the defense will introduce. And you do make a valid point. Any good defense attorney could point this out.
Why would he want to kill his kid? What, did he have life insurance on his kid? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I think they're trying to say I think they're trying to say he wanted to get rid of the kid so he'd be free to chase these girls.
I don't buy it.
That's their theory.
Yeah, that's a
we'll
weak
see
theory.
if it ends up. Joseph Scott Morgan, forensic expert. So say you on this case.
Yeah, I covered this for a while, both on local and we talked about this at length, just the forensic evidence. But I can tell you, and I'm not saying this is me constructing this in any way, I can tell you what the prosecution is attempting to do. Dwane hit it on the head. They're trying to show linkage between this guy's lifestyle. And let's don't forget, it's not just his lifestyle that's involved here. The lifestyle also goes to his spouse. That I don't know what their status is, but she had moved back with her family out of state it was alleged at the time that they were both engaged in sex parties and open marriage and all these kinds of things, and that this was part of their lifestyle. My sense is that the prosecution is going to take just this huge pile of evidence that's surrounding this case, that's swirling. If reflecting back, I think about a lot of the stuff that they did in the parking lot immediately following the days after this. People wanted this guy's blood at that point in time. They went out, they did all kinds of demonstrations. We even did reconstructions on the air relative to how hot it gets inside of the vehicle. And that, from a demonstrative standpoint, is really going to send some chills up and down the spines of the people that are on the jury. So you're right, Alex. They are going to absolutely hate this guy. I think what they're trying to do with the sexting to show linkage between the lifestyle and a potential motive. I'm not saying that it's going to hold water, in my opinion. I think it's an overreach. I think they're trying to eat too much of the elephant on this case. I think you could do this much more subtly, but as happens many times, it seems like prosecutors really try to swing for the fence. Saying that
they don't even have to do this.
Yeah,
they don't have to take this route. They don't have to introduce the phone records. They could say, listen, this father had custody of this child, and we admit he may have loved this child, but he acted extremely negligent because he left his child in a hot car to die and burn to death, and he needs to be held responsible for that. But that's not murder. That may be manslaughter.
I think a lot of this
manslaughter, second degree.
Yeah,
maybe criminally negligent homicide or something like that.
Right.
It's not going to be murder, but that's the right charge against that guy.
Yeah, they're talking about making this a capital case, and Georgia, they don't have a, if I remember correctly, they don't have a premeditation rule. They'll just talk about murder. It's just kind of an overall, I learned law in Louisiana, criminal law at, through police academy and undergraduate, and we had varying degrees of homicide, which they do. In Georgia, they just have murder statute. And you've got all these varying aggravating circumstances. I think back to the Fred Tokar's case years ago, where he had a hitman that took the wife out in the truck and they assassinated the wife in front of these children with a shotgun, and there was blood blown everywhere. And everybody's saying, well, this is a capital murder case. In this particular case, I think that the prosecution seems like they want to demonstrate how vigorous they're going to be and try to get capital. I think that realistically, I don't think it's going to happen. This seems more like a negligence kind of thing, rife with stupidity, and in my mind, a pretty evil and debased person. I just don't see them getting the death penalty in this case.
Well, and again, you think about it. If he was trying to kill his kid to get rid of his kid so he can continue with the lifestyle, there's a lot of different ways to do it than the way he did it.
Oh yeah.
They would make him look a lot less culpable.
Oh boy, and this is such a horrific death. For somebody for a small child, particularly, it's bad enough for anyone, but you start talking about a small child, you paint this picture of this kid being strapped in the car, and in the dead of summer in the deep South, and they're going to put physiologists on the stand, pathologists, and they're going to start talking about stages that a body goes through. This thing, they're going to paint such a morbid picture of this thing, it is going to be ghastly. If they're talking about sexting images with a 15-year-old, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet till they start talking about the suffering this kid went through.
We will keep our eyes on this trial as it's scheduled to start this spring. Let's try our callers. Let's go out to 929. Please give me your name and where you're calling from. You're live on King Jordan Radio. 929 area code. 929, question or thought? Okay. Let's go out to Anaheim. Let's say hello. I believe this is Sarah Kardashian. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Well, hello, gentlemen. And it's Huntington Beach, but that's okay.
Huntington Beach. Okay, got you.
Okay, I'm going to work backwards because I agree with everybody on a lot of things. But this Justin Ross case, it's horrific. It's awful. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but I watched the hearings when he was first arrested. And there supposedly is evidence that he did Internet searches on how to be child-free, how hot a car needed to be to kill a child, and also watched a demonstration that a veterinarian did in his car to demonstrate how horrible it is to leave a pet in the car. So those searches bother me. The other thing is, as far as his sexting and texting or whatever, it is truly disgusting. If it had been a week before the day his child died, I agree that it should not be in the trial. But because it was that day, and I think it goes to his mindset, I think it should be in the trial. And now, as far as the judge getting shot with metal and glass because I guess the bullet didn't hit her, I'm just wondering where the husband is. Nobody's talking about him or the ex-husband or whatever, but she has children. There must have been a man in her life sometime. And I'm thinking it's closer to home than some guy that she got pissed off in her courtroom. And the other issue is the high school rape trial.
Yes.
I actually agree with everybody on the panel. I think the jury got it right. And what bothered me was the very friendly text or email messages that these two had with each other hours after the incident. Because I just can't imagine a victim being so nice and so friendly in a text after something so horrific happened to her. And I'm hoping that the sex registry does change its ways, because it really is awful about a lot of these young male teenagers who are just walking around with raging hormones, and if they can have sex, they'll have sex. A lot of times it's not rape. And many times girls lie, as it was mentioned, about their age. And it bothers me, too, that girls can send pictures of their naked bodies voluntarily over the Internet or on their telephone. And, yes, of course, they're sending them to boys, but nothing happens to the girls. And that really, really bothers me. And as far as the kayak murder or death of the poor man on the kayak, okay, I think she's nuts, number one. I don't know if she's legally insane, but she is a kook. There was a life insurance policy. She wanted to break up with him. She didn't want to break up with him. But I just can't imagine that the stars were so aligned that he would drown just because she wanted him dead, unless she did really capsize his boat. The only other question I have or comment I have is as far as the police officers that were acting as marshals that horrible, horrible night when the 6-year-old died. They're charged with second-degree murder, and does everyone think it's because they are going to say they had no knowledge that the 6-year-old was in the vehicle, therefore there was no, first-degree intent to kill him? Because right now it's second-degree, and I know sometimes they change charges, but I just wanted everybody's opinion on that. And I think I've taken up enough time from everyone. So, okay, so that's it.
Taking up enough time. Let's go with you first, Alex. What's your thoughts on our question?
Well, I was going to ask Sarah. Sarah, I wonder if I could trouble you to repeat all those comments one more time. No, I'm just
Aren't you taking notes? Because I take notes as I'm listening, so I know what I'm talking about.
You sound like you read and study these criminal cases like very few other people do. But anyway,
disregarding
Let me tell you something regarding that case with the guy whose son died in the car. If he was doing internet searches regarding, how long does it take